Sir Isaac Newton is widely regarded as one of the most influential scientists in history. His laws of motion and universal gravitation laid the groundwork for classical physics. Yet, despite his fame, much of Newton's life and mind remains shrouded in mystery. Here are 7 things we still don't fully understand about this enigmatic genius. 1. The real story behind the apple. We've all heard the famous story of Newton discovering gravity when an apple fell on his head, but the truth is more mysterious. Newton himself mentioned seeing an apple fall, not being struck by one. Yet historians still debate whether the story is literal, symbolic, or even fabricated years later to simplify his theory. What really happened that day in the garden remains unclear. 2. His involvement in alchemy. Newton wrote more about alchemy than he ever did about physics. He kept his alchemical experiments secret, fearing ridicule. What exactly he hoped to discover through alchemy and how it influenced his scientific thinking is still debated by scholars. 3. His prediction of the apocalypse. In his later writings, Newton predicted that the world would not end before the year 2060, based on his interpretations of the Bible. It's unclear whether he meant this as a symbolic date or a literal prophecy. The purpose behind this prediction is still debated among Newton's scholars. 4. His rivalries and feuds. Newton had infamous disputes with fellow scientists, including Robert Hooke and Gottfried Leibniz. While some of these feuds were professional, others seemed deeply personal. The motivations behind his fierce rivalries remain partly psychological mysteries. 5. His mental health. There are periods in Newton's life when he seemed to suffer from deep paranoia and emotional breakdowns. Some believe he may have experienced mental illness, possibly worsened by exposure to toxic substances like mercury. But no definitive diagnosis can be made centuries later. 6. His religious beliefs. Newton was deeply religious but held unorthodox views. He rejected the Trinity, a belief that could have cost him his academic career if made public. He studied biblical prophecy obsessively, even predicting the end of the world. The full scope of his theology is still being uncovered. 7. Why he suddenly stopped doing science. In the mid-1680s, Newton abruptly stopped publishing scientific work and shifted his focus to theology and alchemy. Historians are still unsure why. Was it burnout, a religious awakening, or frustration with his peers? The reasons behind his sudden career shift remain a topic of speculation. Isaac Newton may have explained the motion of planets and the nature of light, but aspects of his own mind remain unsolved puzzles. He was not just a scientist, but also a mystic, a theologian, and a man of many contradictions. The more we learn about him, the more we realize how much we still don't know.